On today's podcast, we're going to crack the code why so many agents fail. Real estate is not a business for the faint of heart, that is for sure. But the simple fact is that there is a record number of agents right now that are failing out of the business faster than they have in certainly the amount of, Julie and I have been in the business since the early 90s, and the failure rate of real estate, it's always been fairly consistent, but the last probably 3 to 5 years, percent-wise, it does seem that more agents are struggling to stay in the industry. And what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be giving you the top 7 reasons why most agents, unfortunately, will fail out of the real estate business. The best thing about today's podcast, I think all of you will agree after you listen to all 7 points, is that you can avoid all 7 of these reasons why most are, why agents do fail. So avoid these things, and it obviously dramatically increases your likelihood of not being real estate roadkill.
Well put. So according to the National Association of Realtors, 87% of licensed realtors do actually fail out of the business in 5 years or less. That means that only 13% survive. Well, why is this, and how can you be part of that 13%, not just surviving, but thriving? We're going to give you those reasons. So let's jump into reason number 1 if you're ready.
And Julie, I don't know if you read this. Maybe you did, and that's where you got a lot of your points. But the article, there was several articles that were written about National Association of Realtors and someone deep diving into the data they produce about the average agent and whatever. Mm-hmm. And there were some independent studies done. And the average agent in the country is earning something like less than $10,000 per year.
Yes.
Do you know that?
I know.
And then essentially 50% did 0 transactions.
Well, then that brings us to the 13% that survive and do all the deals, right?
Right. And, the thing that always bothers me about those surveys, frankly, is they're always biased. For example, when National Association of Realtors, Julie and I are huge supporters of NAR, but when they produce their reports, oftentimes what they'll do is they'll send out a survey, request for people to complete a survey, and they're sending that to members who are probably actively participating in National Association of Realtors. So they're kind of, I'm not saying cherry picking who they're going to survey, but generally speaking, the people that are going to respond to the survey are probably actively involved in real estate. Whereas some of the independent reports, what they do is they strictly go from the stats from the various MLSs and whatnot. So when Julie and I are giving you these sort of doom and gloom statistics about the failure rate in real estate, I'm going to share something with you. If you were to go to statistics about, the Small Business Administration, right? Go to the SBA, Google it, and you'll find that the failure rate for almost all small businesses is exactly what the failure rate for real estate is. In other words, the real estate agents, they're not failing out of the industry any faster than anybody starting any business. So what is it about people that survive and thrive over long periods of time versus people that don't? So again, write these points down, and like always, our notes for today's show are down below. So if you're on Stitcher, Spotify, if you're on YouTube, doesn't matter where you're listening to us, scroll down below and you'll see our notes for today's show. And also, while you're there, make sure you sign up for a local Harris Real Estate Meetup. Those are happening all over the country. We're doing 50 this month, so make sure you register to, you have to RSVP. These are going to be small, intimate gatherings of our podcast fans, coaching clients, a lot of people on our EXP Realty group. So these are happening all over the United States, and the best way for you to attend is to RSVP right away. And you can do so easily by clicking the link below, or just go to harrisrealestatemeetup.com, harrisrealestatemeetup.com.
All right, so reason number 1, why many agents, 87%, fail out of the business in 5 years or less? Well, absolutely no accountability of any kind. Most agents were previously either in school, where there's lots of accountability, or were W-2 employees working at a, quote, normal job that has daily accountability. But now you're in a 1099 independent contractor world. And what happens is, and I think you'll agree with this, most agents become immediately too independent and can go months without knowing what to do, when to do it, how to do it. Sporadic work equals sporadic income, but discipline and consistency are your friends.
And right. And they don't know the difference, frankly, between work, real work and work theater.
Work theater,
and
exactly.
And a lot of agents get pulled into work theater, and we're going to be kind of sprinkling some knowledge, hopefully, on you guys throughout this podcast. But work theater, by definition, is anything that appears as work, but really isn't. It might actually take up time, but just imagine if you were your own real estate coach and you're sitting on your shoulder every single day. What would you be telling yourself not to do that you're doing? Not what would you be telling yourself to do, because that's too easy. What would you tell yourself to stop doing? And it's quite, you guys all know the answer. Well, anything that's not going to lead directly to you being put in a position to help somebody and make money, which leads to point number 2.
Perfect. So reason number 2, you just gave me a nice segue there. Confusion about where closable, motivated buyer and seller leads actually come from. This starts when new or newer agents have a couple of fairly easy deals right out of the gates, almost always friends and family deals. And that makes it easy to believe that all of your deals will always come easily and always from people who already know, love, and trust you. But inevitably, that runs its course. Agents wait too long to become proactive or start spending money they don't have on things that won't work or work quickly enough. Closable leads come from people who clearly actually need your help. So you can refer to our podcast, or many podcasts, but especially the Real Estate Agent's 90-Day Money-Making Plan and the countless other podcasts we have regarding proactive lead generation.
That's a little, I'm going to kind of decipher what you just said, okay?
Sure.
So what happens is a lot of agents get into the business, and then they rush to YouTube and they rush to this and the other thing, and they look for, how can I get leads? Like everyone's, and it is true, you do need leads, otherwise you don't have a business, right? But so everyone spends all their energy focusing on leads, and then they focus, nowadays, agents focus a lot on branding and marketing, and after all, I need leads, and so that's what the branding and the marketing's for. Now, here, again, drill down in your minds. What can you be doing right now, which is going to put you in a position to make money in the next 60 to 90 days? What is it that what activity can you be doing right now, listeners, that's going to pretty much be guaranteed to put money in your pocket in the next 60 to 90 days? Write a list of those things. Seriously, is it going to be the marketing and the branding? No. Is it going to be the videos that you're going to make? No. You're all doing these things based on the speculation that sometimes in the future that stuff's going to pay off because everyone else has told you that it'll pay off. Who are the everybody else's that have told you that? Have they ever sold real estate before? Or are they actually just trying to sell you marketing and branding and some, YouTube video course? In other words, the people that you're going to get your information from, are you actually validating that they're worth listening to? Do you guys understand what I'm trying to say? So one of my theories, this is why more agents are failing faster in the real estate industry, is because there's such an enormous tsunami of agents that have gotten into the business in the last 15 years. And what happens now is they've never learned how to be proactive lead generators. They've only been selling in one kind of market where basically homes sell themselves, and we're still in a market like that now. And then what's happening is they're now the ones that are kind of, mentoring this next generation, this next crop of agents. And so essentially the attachment to buying business, in essence, being a passive lead generator, is essentially passing from one generation to the next. Mm-hmm. So the very essence of what it takes to be successful in real estate, or anything in life, by the way, is doing what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it at the highest level. So I'm going to go back and ask you guys questions, hopefully helping you to be introspective. What is it that you want to do the least in the real estate business today? What is it that you absolutely positively, Julie's laughing, what is it you absolutely positively do not want to do in your real estate business today? I know what you're all thinking because I've been coaching agents for 2 decades. Okay, it's anything that's going to result in you having a direct conversation with a buyer or seller where you frankly you might get rejected. Anything that's going to result in you pre-qualifying someone. Anything that's going to require you to have a conversation where you might get rejected. Are you guys understanding where I'm getting at here? But on the other side of those conversations and learning how to have those conversations fluidly. I got it right the first time. Yeah. On the other side of those conversations, that's where the money's at. No two ways about it.
Well, that's absolutely right. I was kind of maybe laughing to myself, just, with a heart of love going out to our many coaching clients that are living the life of, you do have to work harder right now. I had a note in our outline today that you have to remember a higher percentage of your past clients and center of influence, your easy deals that you've counted on, especially during the COVID years, they either closed recently at a super low rate or they refinanced themselves into a super low rate. The COVID years where we had fast and furious, we had 6.5 million sales. That's a lot more than we had last year.
And that pulled the sales from the future.
Exactly.
It's like when if you had a store and this is the reason companies like Apple never discount, because all you're doing is you're pulling future business into the present. And that's what basically happened during COVID because of the low interest rates.
That's right. And so the deals that were flowing so easily back then, the FOMO deals, a lot of that has dried up and was robbed from the future. That means that if you're somebody, it's the agents that were very dependent on their database deals that are feeling like they have to work so much harder because, before it was a certain percentage, but that percentage is lower because everybody, well, not everybody, but most people already bought or refied. I do have a little spin on that you and I talked about last week from a HousingWire interview where they were talking to a millennial sales agent, and she said, the thing that she was seeing is she said from her perspective, a lot of us in that age group especially, we just bought something because we didn't want to lose out on the low rates, and we knew this was going to be unusual, but it wasn't necessarily what we wanted. So as rates adjust and become normalized, they're not going to be 3 to 3.5%, 4%, but there will be some sales. But the point is, it's harder to find that diamond in the rough in your database. They're not coming to you. You have to find them.
Well, Julie, it goes back to the fact that you've only been selling real estate in the last 15 years, which is,
exactly.
Let's be honest,
sounds like a long time, but it was a really long run of a hot seller's market.
Right. So you've never, in that time when, essentially there was enough FOMO, fear of missing out in the marketplace, that if you went to a seller, and I'm oversimplifying it, but you guys understand what I'm saying, those of you who are in the business, there wasn't a seller, and it's still true, there are tons of sellers that are sitting on enormous amounts of equity in the marketplace. But the thing is those sellers, if they have a mortgage on their place at all, they have essentially a huge incentive to basically slow play their next move, waiting for rates to adjust because of the fact they have super low payments. So they're sitting on huge equity with really, really low payments. That's very seductive to want to slow down the pace of things. Julie said something really important where, I'm seeing an onslaught of new coaching clients, obviously,
yes.
joining with us. And a lot of them are the ones that have built their businesses or tried to build their businesses off branding, marketing, but also those, and this is the biggest group, I think, who have only done centers of influence and past
yes.
clients. Now, centers of influence and past clients, absolutely the first critical spoke we want you guys to put on your wheel. But the essentially the mistake that basically all of you have made is you don't build another spoke. You just, because again, there was so much fear of missing out on the marketplace. Your sellers in the past were, they weren't that selective who they were listing with because they knew the house would sell itself. Buyers were going to buy, as to Julie's example, even if they didn't really particularly like the house, the condition of the location.
Available.
You guys get it?
Yeah.
So now that's kind of, that market is no longer, then you're going to have to deal with essentially the reality that you're going to have to be proactive about going after your business. Still work your centers of influence and past clients, but you must learn some proactive lead generation methods. Supplement, enhance, reinforce the proactive with the passive.
Exactly, well put. So reason number 3 why many agents fail out is relying on luck, hopium, and speculation instead of those sales skills that you were just talking about. So stop spending your hard-earned money on things that are not directly related to closed or closable transactions.
Julie, that is if that could just be all 7 points, right?
Right.
So if you're thinking about contemplating spending money on something, all right, it does not matter what it is. You should ask the person who's selling this thing to you, this idea, this whatever it is. Ask them, okay, you're asking me to spend $1. How long is it going to take for me to make $5 from this $1? And if they don't give you a clear answer, if they don't give you an absolute, look into the future that makes sense to you, they're selling you hopium. They're selling you something that they don't want you to hold them accountable to. That, by the way, is the ultimate downfall of marketing and branding-based businesses, is you keep spending money, we got a deal. Keep spending money, got a deal. You're always waiting for your train to come in. Versus if you're a proactive lead generator is your primary source of business, you could control the train schedule. You can control when the train comes in. You can control your cash flow versus waiting and hoping and praying.
It's actually a lot better lifestyle.
Totally. It's because you wake up in the morning, you have a schedule, getting back to your first point. You wake up in the morning, you have a schedule, you do your proactive lead generation, you do your pre-qualifying, you do the work of real estate, and you do that every single day, and you start building positive momentum. Yes, I get it. You did not get into real estate to essentially do what you didn't want to do when you didn't want to do it at the highest level. How's that working out for you? You guys get the point here?
That question wasn't on the test. Would you like to? All right, but it is the reality. So reason number 4, not leading with profit. Your product is profit. Every day you decide to run a not-for-profit organization or a for-profit organization yourself. Which one depends on the actions that you're taking. So refer to our podcast about your success schedule. Tim just talked to you about that. Activities that lead to profit in real estate are proactive lead generation, furiously fast lead follow-up, pre-qualifying, presenting, negotiating, and closing. Now, here's the key to that. The whole list that we just both rattled off is completely dependent on the first activity, that is proactive lead generation. Why? Well, you could have the best presentation in the whole entire planet, but if you don't have any leads, you don't have any appointments, it doesn't really matter. You've got to proactively create those leads.
By the way, a lot of you're going to be looking for your next natural step in your real estate businesses, which, should be all of you, but I know realistically it's half of you that are listening. So you're going to want to join Premier Coaching, and we have made it very easy for you to do so with absolutely no risk. And we want you to try out Premier Coaching for a month for free. And we are including a daily semi-private coaching call with one of our Harris certified coaches. The way you join is very simple. You scroll down below and you click the link to join Premier Coaching, or you can just go to premiercoaching.com, premiercoaching.com. You're looking for a proven path forward. You're tired, or frankly, maybe you don't even have the gumption. You don't want to take the risk of trying things. You're not in real estate because you're trying to create your own, this isn't an art project for you. You want to make a living of this. You want to build a career around this. You want to have something that you're proud of, that you've built, right? That is what your real estate business should be, that creates consistent profit, to Julie's previous point. That comes from, having an actual proven system that you're going to follow. Don't waste time trying to patchwork quilt some sort of system together. That's what a lot of you do. You listen to this video, you listen to this podcast, you go to this seminar, and you kind of work it all in, and then you wonder why it doesn't work. Remember, failure rate of agents is increasing, not decreasing. The lifespan of someone with that's an active member of the National Association of Realtors over the last really 15 years, but 5 years in particular, has been decreasing, not increasing. Why? It's because you're being offered too many distractions, and because you're being told that there's easy buttons, there's shiny objects. There aren't. Those are lies. You know it. You intuitively know it. I wish there were shortcuts. I mean, Zoe, our 10-year-old, right? I tell her
Queen
sometimes.
of the shortcut.
Yeah, well, right. Yeah. She's always looking for them. But she comes home from school and she looks like she had her butt kicked all day. And I remind her, Zoe, you actually worked harder than Mama and Dada did today.
Yes, absolutely. And it's funny because
it's because of her schedule.
Because of her schedule. And remember, our original point today was lack of accountability. And yet, look at how well people do in school. Look at how much she learns. It's unbelievable. They have 7 different classes plus after school stuff. Basically, when the bell rings, you change classes. There's not an option to go from English to math. You just do it.
And she's 10. How many of you 40-year-olds listening right now couldn't even keep it to a schedule for an hour? You guys get the point? Yeah. There's something about becoming an adult and getting a real estate license that all of a sudden you just sort of magically forget all the things that you already learned that it takes for you to be successful. If you want to get in good shape and you go to the gym every day. Julie and I, if you guys follow us on Instagram, we post pictures of us doing kettlebells and whatever. We don't like it anytime ever, not once, but we do it every single day because the accumulation effect of having done it really pays off. That is true with everything in life. Julie and I our combined age right now is over 100 years old. So
thanks for reminding me.
You're welcome.
Some days I feel like that more than others.
But here's the thing that Julie and I would have said 10 or 15 years ago, but now we're living it. Mm-hmm. The accumulation effect, like I just said, pays off. Doing what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it at the highest level for long-ass periods of time is what it takes. And it's not too late. Some of the greatest businesses in the world were started by people in their 50s and their 60s. Some of them in their 70s. There's lots of examples out there. So don't use your age or don't use anything as your excuse not to basically succeed at the highest levels. You just have to accept the fact that it is going to take doing what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it at the highest level.
That's right. Actually, I believe Charlie Munger talked about that as well. He's in one of his main 10 points. We're going to do a podcast on that you have to realize that pretty much everything in life will absolutely take longer than you want it to, than you think it's going to. But waiting just prolongs all of that.
Yeah, and if honestly, I think it's super hard for millennials nowadays.
I do too.
Or younger people, right? Mm-hmm. They're popping around on different socials and they're seeing all these fake influencers. Yeah. And, popping off on and off their private jets under their chauffeur-driven Rolls Royces.
That's right.
Guys, it's all bullshit.
Yeah.
You should know that. It's not true. And they're talking about how they're millionaires and all the rest of it. Yeah, prove it. How can it possibly be true? It's not. They're trying to sell you something. That's their version of marketing and branding and advertising. So it is harder to believe that you will get there over a long period of time when you don't have short-term, real palatable short-term wins. After all, look at this guy on Instagram who's, flying on his private jet to Tahiti. And he's like 2 years younger than you, and he's only been, doing whatever he's doing for like 6 months. And oh my gosh, you're working too hard. Success isn't supposed to be this hard. Why am I having to do what I don't want to do, and I don't want to do at the highest level? Why am I being asked to be uncomfortable? Why am I being asked to, essentially sacrifice? Because that's what it takes. And you intuitively, in your heart, know what I'm saying is true.
Very well put. With enthusiasm and energy, because, we see it, we live it, we know that it's true.
Julie, truthfully, it's the thing I'm most proud of about your and I's professional and frankly personal life is that we really never deviated in our 32 years of marriage from that. We kind of, I think, wandered occasionally, but we never got it. We always stayed on the path.
Staying focused, that's what the word stands for. Follow one course until successful. So reason number 5 that some of you unfortunately might fail out is lazy lead follow-up, overly complicated communication methods. If you're not using lead follow-up scripts, buyer and seller pre-qualification scripts, and furiously fast into your lead follow-up, you are on track to be part of that 87% who fail. If you're ending any day, here's how you fix this. If you are ending any day with leads that you have not called, not texted, sent smoke signals, whatever, then you are a lazy lead follower-upper. And I know, well, they texted me, so I have to text them back. No, you call them, you make the connection. Don't have different rules for different people. I'll tell you, one of the craziest calls, and this is fairly consistent. We probably have several of these a month, where somebody will call asking about coaching, and they'll state on their little survey, I need help with lead generation. So then somebody will call them back, but their voicemail's full. How does this make any sense? You need help with lead follow-up. We have scripts for that.
The better example of the most moronic advice ever given to real estate agents, and there is a lot about lead follow-up, is the moron who says basically that you should wait to follow up on all your leads because you don't want to seem overly anxious.
I know. I think that's a YouTube thing because I hear about that all the time.
OMG. That is the 100% exact opposite of the way that anybody who's successful at anything in life operates. That is so insane. It's hardly even, it's not even fathomable that someone would even have a video with one view that produced such a dumpster fire like that.
Well, I think they maybe know that that's what agents want to hear.
Well, but Julie just said it. That's why. Because you guys are being given excuses to be lazy.
Exactly. But lazy is not profitable.
Reason number 6.
Reason number 6, no business plan, no business coach, and little exposure to success. Influencers on Instagram and YouTube don't count. Birds of a feather flock together. So if you're hanging out with a bunch of new or unproductive agents, you feel like that's normal. And you will have that said to you. It's normal for you not to do a deal for your first 6 months, first 12 months, first 18 months.
It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. It might be normal for the person telling you, but it's not normal. Instead, follow and emulate the successful. This business is far more simple than most agents make it.
One of the best things that we've done professionally ever is joining with eXp Realty 5 years ago. Our eXp Realty group has now like 33, almost 3,400 agents from all over the United States and different countries. And one of the main reasons that people choose Julie and I to be their sponsors is, a lot of them are podcast listeners. A lot of them are coaching clients. A lot of them have purchased books. They've been following Julie and I for decades in one form or another. But the biggest reason, and I hear this all the time from folks that are joining with us, is they want to actually follow a proven path. And along with our Premier Coaching Program and our coaching in general, eXp Realty works perfectly because it allows you to create multiple sources of income, and you are being surrounded by like-minded people that are really trying to, emulate successful people,
Sure.
But most importantly, they're trying to become their best versions of themselves as real estate professionals. You, listener, right now are ready to upgrade your brokerage experience. Let's have that conversation. Julie and I would be honored to be your eXp Realty sponsors. There's 2 ways you can learn about joining with Julie and I. The first way is, guess what? Scroll down in the notes below, click the link, and you can look at our group's website and understand all the benefits you get when you join with Julie and I at eXp Realty. Or, like many of you, if you're ready to land the plane and choose your eXp Realty sponsor, again, we humbly are applying for the job of being your eXp Realty sponsor. We want to, partner with you at eXp Realty. And if you're ready to choose your sponsor and you've not yet chosen a sponsor, text me directly. 512-758-0206. 512-758-0206. Again, it's down below in the show notes, the link to look at our eXp Realty site. It's our group's called Libertas, which is Latin for freedom. If you can just get more information there, make sure you watch the videos. You can look on your mobile phone or whatever. But if you're ready to land the plane and choose your eXp Realty sponsor, text me directly at 512-758-0206. And my phone number is also in the show notes below.
So our final reason, number 7, makes me the saddest because it happens to many agents who actually were successful, but they made this mistake.
Well, we made this mistake.
Yes, and that's why, it's hard to make this one until you actually have been successful and made some money, and that is failure to save and failure to pay taxes. You mentioned eXp a second ago. Glenn Sanford, the founder of the fastest growing real estate brand in the world, eXp, said that agents are historically terrible at those two things, saving and paying taxes. So how do you cure that? You must pay yourself first, pay your taxes on time, and find multiple sources of profit from your real estate practice. So what's the solution? Follow a plan, get involved with Premier Coaching, ask us more about eXp Realty so you aren't going to be real estate roadkill. Surround yourself with successful Harris certified coaches, other Premier Coaching members, our elite coaching clients that we talk about on this podcast all the time. You can join today for free by visiting premiercoaching.com, and Tim showed you how to contact him to talk about eXp. So, hopefully you guys wrote some of these things down and are creating a plan to not fall into these 7 reasons. Don't be real estate roadkill. All of this is curable.
This is the interesting thing. Listen to what I'm going to say, listeners. This is a conclusion for today's show. In my opinion, this is the best time to actually be in real estate as a new agent or a veteran. And I'm going to tell you why. And nobody talks about this, which I find mind-boggling. Demographics. Mm-hmm. There are more people that are going to, I'll say want to on the buyer side, but have to on the seller side, do a real estate transaction within the next 5 years or less than there ever has been in the history of the United States. I'll say even go as far as to say, I'm guessing here, but the history of the world. There are more people in the United States that are going to want to or have to do a real estate transaction for all the normal things that happens as people go through the seasons of life, right?
Yes.
So, and right now, there's a huge surge of people who are 38 years old, who are in the family formation, married, have kids, want to buy a house. And that number of people is way larger and followed by other larger waves of people than the baby boomers ever were. And by the way, the baby boomers are going to be downsizing. And by the way, there's a lot of new construction happening. There's a lot of people, all the things, right? There's more demand for real estate than there ever has been, and certainly on Julie and I's real estate careers. You want proof? There's no inventory, right? Things sell off really fast. Mm-hmm. We did have an interest rate challenge. I'll agree with that. When the interest rates were 8%, that certainly was preventing some people from purchasing. But think about this. Julie and I never thought there really truly was an interest rate challenge or interest rate problem. There was an inventory problem. Why do we know that? Because when more homes came for sale, even when the interest rates were higher, they still had a ridiculously small days in the market.
And prices still went up.
The real estate industry is operating almost as its own economy outside of the normal economy.
Yes.
That has always been true, but it's more true now, again, because it's really defragmented from the realities.
It has decoupled from the rest of the picture. Because it's an asset. You would argue it's an asset class, but it has so many different moving parts to it. People want to purchase a home. Renters want to be owners. Owners want to move up. They want to change, more space, better school district, what have you. That's baked in. You can't say that about other things, right? So the push to be an owner is I do think that the inventory issue is going to continue, but I think the builders are making up for a lot of that. And, you have to be proactive.
I was scrolling on Netflix last night, desperately trying to find something to watch.
I know.
And so I went I don't even remember, but I started looking at all the different things, and I was shocked I shouldn't have been, but I was, how many of them were about real estate.
Yes.
Rico, who's in our eXp Realty group, he was there. And then there's all these other, luxury real estate agent.
Different spins on real estate.
So there's all these, essentially a lot of you, millennials especially, you've grown up in a world where real estate is cool. You've grown up in a world where the Bravo TV stars are creating this, amazing lifestyle if you're in the real estate business.
It's a great wealth builder too.
Well, the point is when Julie and I were in real estate, being a real estate agent was down there at the bottom of the list of the careers you could actually pursue. It isn't like that anymore. So the number of people that are getting into real estate is, huge. But really what that's done is there are, obviously millions and millions and millions of people that have grown up with the idea that they want to they want to own a home. They don't want to be renters for life. So forget all the people that are trying to tell you that's no longer the American dream. Clearly it is. So you are in the right place at the right time. Stop procrastinating your success, because we know statistically 87% of you won't make it past 5 years. And by the way, the bulk of you drop off within the first 24 months. It's because you don't drill down and realize that you got to get your reps in. You got to do what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it at the highest level. And I'm here to tell you, a lot of times you're not going to like it. That's the nature of work. But it does get easier, and frankly, it becomes a heck of a lot less, the pain becomes less acute when the cash flow starts flowing and you start seeing yourself as a successful real estate practitioner. So in the meantime, thank you for keeping this #1 listened to daily podcast for real estate agents in at least the United States. Have a fantastic day. We'll talk with you on the show tomorrow.